Welcome, deep divers. Today, we're embarking on a journey into a really pivotal text. It holds what's been called the king of all wisdom, and maybe even more intriguingly, the king of secrets.
hmm
We're diving into chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita, Raja Vidya Raja Guhya Yoga.
The yoga of royal knowledge and royal secret. Quite a name.
It really is, and it feels like more than just another chapter, doesn't it? It's like a moment where, the divine really opens up, revealing some profound truths about devotion and presence.
Yeah, what's fascinating, I think, is why it's called royal.
Yeah.
This knowledge, this Rajavidya, it's described as supremely purifying. It offers this direct connection, an experiential one.
Right, not just theoretical.
Exactly. And the Rajaguhya, the royal secret, well, that's the simplicity of it all. It says, no ritual, no complexity. All that's needed is faith and devotion.
Which is such a contrast to maybe more intellectual approaches or even highly ritualistic ones.
Definitely. Because as the text itself says, this truth is experienced through the heart. It's felt.
Okay, so that's where it gets really interesting for our deep dive today. This chapter promises a path that's most sacred, supremely purifying, and apparently brings joy when you practice it with love. So let's unpack what makes this knowledge so accessible, seemingly, and yet so powerful, and what it really means for, our own understanding of presence and connection.
Well, diving into that, the reason it's called royal, the Rajavidya,
Yeah.
it lies partly in its unique position within the Gita. This isn't just head knowledge. We talked about that direct experiential connection.
Mm-hmm.
And the secret part, the Rajaguhya, is how fundamentally simple it is. Faith and devotion.
We've explored karma yoga, the path of action, and jnana yoga, the path of knowledge. But chapter 9 comes right out and calls its path the king of all wisdom. That's a bold claim. What makes this Rajavidya so supreme compared to those other paths we've discussed, especially for, listeners familiar with these different yogas?
I think its supremacy comes from, well, its radical accessibility
Mm.
and its directness. Unlike the sometimes complex rules of action or the pretty intense intellectual demands of pure knowledge yoga, Chapter 9 says this truth isn't just grasped intellectually, it's felt, it's lived. Krishna puts it quite powerfully. He says something like, all this world is pervaded by me in my unmanifested form.
Okay.
All beings exist in me, but I do not dwell in them in the way we usually think of dwelling.
Wow, that's quite a statement. The divine is everywhere, the source, the sustainer, the witness, yet somehow beyond it all.
Exactly.
If Krishna pervades everything, that changes the whole game, doesn't it? How we approach the divine. What does it mean practically to have a God that's both the ultimate support and a silent witness, untouched by everything?
Well, that right there is the royal secret, isn't it? The simultaneous presence and transcendence. It's not just that God is in everything. He's the support for everything, the ground of being. But crucially, he remains untouched by the, let's say, imperfections or changes within the material world.
Okay, so like an analogy might help here.
Yeah, the classic one is the wind moving through the sky. The wind is in the sky, it moves through it, but the sky itself isn't stained or changed or affected by the wind's passage.
Right. This guy just is.
Exactly. So Krishna is like that sky, the foundation, the essence of all existence, but his true nature. It stays perfect, unblemished, kind of aloof from the limitations of creation. Understanding this really dissolves that idea of a distant God, sitting on a cloud somewhere.
Yeah.
Instead, it points to a divine presence that's right here, living in all things, moving like the wind, shining like the sun, breathing through you and me.
So if this divine presence is everywhere and within us, what does chapter 9 say is the most authentic way to connect? Is it through those traditional rites and ceremonies, or is it something different?
Well, this is where bhakti, the path of devotion, really takes center stage in Chapter 9, and it presents this incredibly, democratic approach, almost revolutionary.
Yeah.
Krishna says, and this is amazing, whoever offers me a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water with love, I accept it.
Think about that for a second. A leaf, some water.
Right. It completely levels the playing field. It's not about how grand the offering is or how much it costs.
It's the sincerity, the heart behind it.
Precisely. And that's a huge departure from traditions that might emphasize, really elaborate ceremonies or needing specific qualifications or strict adherence to external forms.
It sounds so simple, a leaf, a flower. But I wonder, for people maybe used to more complex rituals, does this simplicity feel almost too simple, maybe even insufficient? And then there's that other really striking part about past actions. The text says, quite clearly, even if the greatest sinner worships me with unalloyed devotion, he is to be considered righteous.
It is radical, no question, because it completely redefines what spiritual merit means. It's saying genuine devotion just overrides everything else: social status, past mistakes, how well you perform rituals externally. None of that is the core issue.
So that line about the greatest sinner, that's pretty revolutionary, isn't it?
Hugely revolutionary. It basically says the divine accepts the turning of the heart right now, regardless of your history. It's this message of profound unconditional acceptance, a direct challenge to ideas about judgment or needing some kind of external purification before you can even approach the divine.
It's not about cleaning up your act first, though.
It seems not. It's about the turn of the heart now. The divine accepts the heart, not the form of the offering or the state of your resume, so to speak. Doesn't matter what you've done or who you think you are. If your heart turns towards the divine, even once, sincerely, you're not lost.
Wow. Okay. And this unconditional acceptance, it leads to this incredible promise Krishna makes. He says, those who always remember me, I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. That sounds more than just comforting. It sounds like active divine protection and provision. What does that really mean for someone listening? Maybe someone seeking support or guidance in their own life right now.
Well, that promise isn't just, a nice sentiment. It's a profound statement about divine grace. It almost seems to challenge conventional ideas of karma and merit, suggesting this unconditional support that goes beyond just getting what you've earned.
Right.
It means, essentially, if you fix your mind on the divine, if you make that sincere effort to connect, the universe itself, God itself, aligns to support you, to provide what's needed, to protect what you value. It's a promise of complete support, complete care, for those who simply turn their minds and hearts towards that presence.
It's quite personal.
Very personal. And Krishna's final invitation in this section really sums it up beautifully. Fix your mind on me, be devoted to me, worship me, and you will surely come to me. And then he adds, I promise you this, for you are dear to me.
You are dear to me. That's incredibly intimate.
It is. It shifts it from abstract theology to a potential relationship, an invitation to a really personal connection.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into Chapter 9, what really stands out, I think, is how much it feels like Krishna's heart speaking directly to ours. The message isn't one of, strict demand or complex rules. It feels like an invitation.
Yeah, a simple, profound call. Remember me.
Yeah.
Trust me. Love me.
And I will be yours, basically.
Pretty much. And if you connect that to the bigger picture,
yeah,
it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If the ultimate secret, this royal secret, is really just about love and truth, without needing all the fancy rituals or worrying about judgment, well, what does that imply about how simple and accessible the divine might actually be right here in our own lives?
Yeah, maybe that's the greatest secret of all. It's sheer availability.
It could be.
Yeah.
Readily available to anyone who turns their heart towards it.
Absolutely. So today we've explored this idea of the boundless presence of the divine, the profound simplicity of devotion, and that really unshakable promise of unconditional presence and support. Next time, we'll be moving into Chapter 10.
Ah, the Vibhuti Yoga.
Exactly. Krishna starts to show his divine opulence, revealing how the divine expresses itself through all the most glorious aspects of life. It should be quite a journey.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, maybe just remember that idea from today, that the simplest prayer, the simplest offering from the heart,
reaches the highest heaven.
Exactly. Thanks for diving deep with us.